On this edition of 22 Magazine, Dave Parman, VU Professor of Music, will talk about the VU Audio Recording Program. Then in our second segment, Steve Gray and Vicki Puffer from Old Town Players will join me to talk about their upcoming season, and they'll start it off with a Halloween thriller, The Haunting of Hill House. 22 Magazine starts now. Good evening and welcome to another edition of 22 Magazine. I'm your host, Tony Cloyd. Vincennes University's music department offers a wide variety of opportunities for students seeking a career in the music profession. In addition to choirs, students can choose from a variety of instrumental ensembles and learn about the recording business as well. Dave Parman is an associate professor of music at VU who brings a great deal of experience to the classroom. And he joins me now to talk about the opportunities that the music program provides. Dave, welcome.
Thank you, Tony, for having me.
Now, I didn't realize this is a full major at VU. At some schools, you know, they treat music as a minor, but students who come through the program, they'll actually graduate with a 2-year associate's degree?
Yes, Associate in Applied Science in Music Audio Recording.
Okay. And I mentioned some of these off the top, but I think many people may not realize about the audio recording portion. Is that something new that's just been added over the last couple of years?
We began with a certificate program back in 1997, and that was the extent of it for about 5 or 6 years. And several of the administrators, Dr. Philip Pierpont, recommended that we develop an associate program, and we had to go through the Higher Education Board at the state level to get this approved. And once we began having the associate program, there was a boom in the interest in the program. People, I think, when they go to college are more interested in gaining at least an associate degree when they start out.
And for those viewers who may not know, you think of audio recording, okay, you lay down tracks for a song, but it's a little bit more involved than that.
There's an incredible amount of work that goes into capturing audio in the way that we like to hear it. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that is necessary to help the concert sound like it would sound if you were sitting in the audience. And the mics have to be placed in the proper way, and there's a lot of different conditions in the studio environment that are important to make it sound the way you want it to sound in the long run.
Placement of mics,
yes.
the overall acoustics of the theater or wherever, or in this case, the Red Skelton Performing Arts Center, it still has to be set up a certain way.
Yes, there's a lot more work involved. Back in the early days of playing music, several musicians always discovered that, hey, I think I'll just take my little jam box and hold it up in front of the group as we're practicing and playing and get a recording of it. Then when they listen back to the results, they think, oh my, this doesn't sound like we sounded, does it, or does it not? And it takes good microphones, a good understanding of acoustics, electronics. There's so much electronics in capturing music that a person who wants to get a good sound has to know many things from many different disciplines.
Are there opportunities out there for our graduates once they've gone through our program?
Yes, we've had some of our graduates go to work in California, and we've had some of our students go to Nashville, Tennessee, and some of them work in the neighboring towns like Evansville and Indianapolis, and some of them go on to promote themselves as artists, those ones who have dreams of doing things with their own music. They like to be able to capture their own music and have that be a skill that enables them to develop their music as they write it and work with it in the studio.
That's one of your things your friend John Mellencamp that he wanted to do when he was a student at Vincennes University.
Yes, back in the early 1970s, he came down to Vincennes University wanting to make his mark in the world. He wrote his own songs, and he knew that if he took broadcasting, that would get him further in the direction, and he learned about how artists develop their own music and what they need to go through to copyright and get their music on the radio, learn about the music business and about the entertainment industry altogether in studying here at Vincennes University. It's remarkable when you think about the fact that he graduated here in December 1973, and that before he was even out of school, 3 years, he had recording contracts with a major label and management out of New York. That I don't think he would have reached those goals had he not come to Vincennes University and understand how the business works.
I want to get back to talking about John in just a few minutes, okay. But what other opportunities or experiences do you offer the students in the music department?
We have several types of music degrees that the student can get at Vincennes University. We have a music theater degree, with an associate degree, and we also have music fine arts if the student knows that they want to be a performer, and we have music education if the student knows that they would like to teach at the grade school, high school, or college level. We have a major in that area, and some of the students even go on to music therapy and music business and other disciplines of music that the associate degree has helped them get a building block to begin.
How do you help them in helping them find their first job, Dave? Or
we work with placement and helping the students find work, and we get calls from different people. Some of our students, even before they finish the program, get jobs. We've had that happen a few times too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's great. But we wanted to talk about John a little bit more now. Of course, one of the recording studios, he agreed to lend his name to one of the recording studios over in the Humanities Building.
Yes, last year the Board of Trustees voted to name our new recording facility after the Mellencamp family, so it's called the Mellencamp Audio Recording Studios. And I was at a concert out in Albuquerque back in 2009, and John and I were able to meet backstage, and I asked him, I said, hey, are you okay if we name the studio after you and your family? He said, no, I'm good with that. So we were able to get his blessing on it, and there was a lot of work that was done in 2006, 2007 to renovate our classrooms that had been primarily used for band rooms and other types of courses that we were teaching there in the Humanities Circliff building. And with the beginning of the Red Scout Performing Arts Theater, a lot of space was freed up. So we totally renovated our facilities at Circliff and put 3 recording studios in there.
That's great. All serving a different purpose, or they have different uses?
They're similar in design. Studio A is designed to work with Pro Tools and recording software, and it has an Avid Digital Design console in it that's enormous. And then Studio B is very similar in style and design. And Studio C also has more of the traditional analog equipment inside it, so the students can learn to work on a lot of the traditional equipment and the new equipment at the same time.
Has that helped, having one of the studios named after John Mellencamp, has that helped you in attracting kids to the campus?
I think so. I think they're excited to know that they can study music somewhere where someone has made their mark. John's been making records for 35 years. He's been in it a long time, very successfully. There's a lot of people that get work in Indiana and elsewhere from what he's done in music.
There are some pictures in his autobiography, American Fool, with you performing with John's band.
Yes, some of the photos that I brought to you are photos from 1976 from his very first performance in Seymour, Indiana, where he played at the Armory because they don't have a performing arts facility there in Seymour. And there are pictures from his early days at Vincennes University. He had an apartment, which was really an old house, where McCormick Science Center actually stands now.
Is that right?
And John studied here with the gentleman that is actually his financial manager. Now, Tim Elstner was a student here at Vincennes University, and Tim studied college at the same time, was living with John and his family when he went to school here in the very early 70s. And Tim went on to Indiana University and got his degree in accounting, and he's been managing John's business and his financial affairs for, I want to say something like 25 years now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had the opportunity, I know he has a busy schedule, but thinking about inviting him back for a venue here at PU?
We'd love to get him back at the Red Scout Performing Arts Center, and we've talked about it a few times. John's favorite holiday is New Year's Eve, and sometimes we are able to get together at New Year's Eve and talk about what's been going on in each other's lives, and that's one of my things I'd like to do, is get him to come down here and perform at the Red Scout Theater sometime.
He's more of a performer these days than he is recording albums. I read an article a while back where he was very discouraged with that portion of the business.
The recording industry has changed quite a bit, yes, and he's had different labels, and he's still selling lots of records, and he's still touring. He played Canada this last summer, and he enjoys playing, but also there's a pressure upon anyone in the business to continually be developing new products. So he goes into the studio at least every year or two and comes out with a new album.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Approximately how many majors do you have in the music department at this time?
I estimate we have somewhere between 130, 140 music audio recording majors.
And
those majors also include the fine arts and the education and the music theater majors, but
And do those students come from all over? Are they predominantly within maybe a 60 to 100 mile radius of Vincennes?
We get students from all over Indiana, and there's one young lady that came here from California that wanted to study here. We've had some students come up from Texas and different New Orleans, different places, come up to study with us. The Vincennes University name has gotten out there so much more over the last several decades. I think parents really trust in Vincennes University as a place where their sons and daughters can go and receive a quality education and enjoy their college experience with a lot of attention that we all need as we're trying to get started.
We will always talk about VU being a hands-on college, and many of your students, they perform in at least the one I'm more familiar with is the blues night over at the Student Union.
Yes.
They have blues night where they perform, and it's not just blues necessarily. I've seen where you guys play Beatles songs, Rolling Stones, and that sort of thing.
Yes, a lot of the classic rock and pop music that's come out of the last 60 or so years in American music. There's just a tremendous watershed of music that's occurred, and we've studied it in detail, and we like to present it at the Blues Night Coffee House. We also do guitars in the night concerts in the new Skelton Theater. It's a joy to do those. And there's a music gala coming up next week that will feature several of our faculty and students performing all kinds of different pieces. And we are so thankful to have that facility. It's a state-of-the-art.
Do they put those on regularly, Dave? I mean, these galas, or is it just one time of the year?
We do the gala in the fall, and then there's going to be a fall musical. It'll be coming up in November, and a Christmas concert, and then we do other concerts when the spring semester starts in January. And the concert season kind of goes all the way around through the academic year, and it takes a lot of preparation. So this music gala and the Blues Night Coffee House, the pressure is on us to get a lot of these new students ready to do a show. Maybe it's the first show that they've ever done for many of them.
All right. Well, Dave, thanks for coming on the show today. I
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
Me, Tony. I appreciate it.
And I look forward to maybe having you back sometime to talk a little bit more about Mr. Mellencamp.
Okay, it'll be a joy. Thank you very much.
All right. My guest has been Dave Parman, Associate Professor of Music at Vincennes University. And to learn more about Vincennes University's music department, you can always go online at www.vinu.edu. Still ahead on 22 Magazine, the Old Town Players will usher in the Halloween season with an adaptation of the novel The Haunting of Hill House. Steve Gray and Vicki Puffer will join me to talk about the play when we return.
If you have a topic